A few years ago, I went to a wedding in Maui at the Four Seasons. Every single thing about the weekend was spectacular, except unfortunately, the officiant. He opened the ceremony with the Princess Bride line, "Marriage is what brings us together," and then he forgot to tell guests to sit down after the bride walked in, and they stood for almost 10 minutes until the photographer had to awkwardly cue everyone to sit because all of his shots were getting messed up. Look, this guy was a family friend, probably in his 60s or 70s, and people give a lot of grace to sweet, well-meaning older men at weddings. But if you've just been asked to officiate, you won't necessarily get that same grace. So today I'm walking you through the 7 mistakes I see first-time officiants make over and over, the kind guests actually notice. And I'll share how to avoid every single one. Hi, I'm Katie. I'm the creator of Something Borrowed Ceremonies, and I spent the last several years helping friends and family officiants confidently perform wedding ceremonies for the people they love most. And here's the thing I want you to understand before we get into this list. Every single one of these mistakes is completely avoidable. None of them happen because the officiant is a bad person or a bad friend or even bad at public speaking. They happen because no one told them what to do. So they figured it out alone. And figuring it out alone on one of the most important days of someone else's life in front of 150 of their closest friends and family, that's where things tend to go sideways. So let's make sure that doesn't happen to you. With that, mistake number 1. The first mistake first-time officiants make is assuming they already know the couple well enough to write the ceremony. I get why this happens. The couple asked you because you're close to them. Maybe you've known one of them since college, or you were there when they first met. You already have 100 stories that you could pull from. So when it comes to actually writing the ceremony, you sit down at your laptop, open a blank doc, and just start typing. Don't do this. Even when I'm officiating for one of my closest friends, someone I've known for 15 years, or someone whose wedding I've been mentally rehearsing for since the engagement was announced, I still sit down with them to talk through what they want. I send them each a questionnaire about their love story and how they got to marriage. And I always email 3 to 5 other people in their lives and ask them questions about the couple too. Why do I do this? Because the version of your friend that you know is not the only version of your friend that exists. Say you're officiating for your little brother. You might know him as an energy monster who turns into a child every time he comes home for the holidays. But to his friends, maybe he's actually the wise one, the person that everyone goes to when life falls apart. If you only write the ceremony from your perspective, you'll miss that. The fix is to do your research. Send a structured questionnaire to the couple and to a handful of people in their orbit. Use those answers to find the consistent themes, not just the ones unique to your relationship with them. Mistake number 2 is closely related, and it's one of the most common, and that is making the ceremony about you instead of the couple. Here's what this sounds like in practice. You get up there and the introduction goes, "When Sarah and I were freshman roommates, I was the one who," and then a 5-minute story about you and Sarah that the groom is barely in. Or, for example, "When Sarah told me that she was getting married, I couldn't believe it because I always thought blah, 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 blah." Look, you are a character in their story. You should absolutely establish how you know the couple, and that's expected. But you are not the protagonist. The couple is. A good rule of thumb to fix this is if you read your introduction back and the word "I" appears more than the couple's names, you've probably drifted. Rewrite it. Your job is to be a window into the couple's relationship, not a mirror reflecting yourself. Mistake number 3 is trying to be funny. Now, I'm not saying ceremonies should be humorless. The best ones absolutely have warmth and lightness and even some genuine laughs. But there is a massive difference between the ceremony is funny because the stories the officiant is telling are funny versus the officiant is doing bits. The cringe version is when the officiant tries to do a weird stand-up routine in the introduction, or roasts the groom about his fraternity days, or shares a bit about how nobody thought this would last, and then reading the room wrong and pushing even harder when nobody laughs. The good version sounds like a story about the couple that happens to be funny because it is well-constructed, told warmly, with the laugh as the byproduct, not as the goal. The shift here is intent. If you sit down and think, "I need to be funny," you will write something that sounds forced. If you sit down and think, "What is the most honest story I can tell about this couple and how they love each other?" you will then write something that lands. And sometimes, yes, that thing will be funny, but the laugh is the dessert, not the entree. Mistake number 4 is using AI slop. If you go to ChatGPT, type in, "Write me a wedding ceremony for my friends Sarah and Mike," and read whatever comes out at the wedding, the guests will know. I promise you, they'll sense it. Even if it sounds what you think is really good. You know that flat, gauzy, weirdly saccharine voice AI defaults to? It'll write something like, "Today we gather in the warm embrace of love to celebrate the union of 2 souls whose hearts have intertwined." No one talks like that. And the second the guests hear it, they know. Now, I am not anti-AI. I use it. I think that it can be incredibly useful as a tool for getting unstuck, for generating transitions, and smoothing out a rough draft. But there's a massive difference between using AI as a tool and copy-pasting AI as the ceremony. The rule of thumb I give my students: AI can help you edit and break through roadblocks. AI cannot know your friends for you. You have to know what information to give it, and you have to be good at directing the tool and prompting it. The officiant introduction and the love story, what I consider the heart of the ceremony, those have to come from you. They have to be rooted in your research, your memories, and the specific, vivid, ridiculous details that make the couple unique. Quick pause. If you're starting to realize that there's more to this than you thought, you're not alone. And you're also not late. I built a course called More Than Words exactly for this. It's about 90 total minutes of video content. It will walk you through every step, starting with the very first meeting with the couple, through writing every section of the wedding ceremony, to running the rehearsal and delivering the whole thing on wedding day. You also get ceremony scripts for reference, a full end-to-end checklist, and access to an AI tool that I built that's trained specifically not to sound like AI. The link is in the description. Back to the list. Mistake number 5, and this one I have some feelings about. You will absolutely, at some point in the process, get the advice: just be yourself. You'll be great. From the couple, from your mom, from the bartender at the rehearsal dinner. And I want to be very clear. Be yourself is not a plan. Be yourself is what people say when they have nothing else to offer. Imagine if I asked you to give a TED Talk tomorrow, and my only advice was just be yourself. You would, rightly, panic. Officiating is closer to that than you think. There is structure, there is craft, there is a thing the audience expects to happen in a specific order with specific beats. And being yourself inside of that structure is what makes it shine. But being yourself without structure is how you end up at minute 30 of an unstructured ramble while the photographer mouths, "Wrap it up," from the back row. The fix isn't to stop being yourself. The fix is to learn the structure first and then bring yourself to it. Structure is the thing that lets your personality actually come through. Without it, you're just freestyling at the most important moment of someone else's life. So don't do that. Mistake 6. Ceremonies that go way, way too long or feel too short. Most modern couples want a ceremony that runs somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. A great target is 25. When ceremonies blow past that, and they often do, especially with first-time officiants, it's almost never because the vows ran long. It's because the officiant introduction and the love story kind of spiraled out of control. Here's why this happens. New officiants treat every section like it deserves equal weight. The welcome statement, 4 minutes. Acknowledgements, 4 minutes. Grounding, 4 minutes. Introduction, 8 minutes. Love story, 12 minutes. Suddenly, you're at minute 35 and you haven't even gotten to the vows. The fix is what I call working backwards from your time budget or your time allocation. If the couple wants a 30-minute ceremony, write the formulaic sections first. The welcome statement, the acknowledgements, the declaration of consent, the ring exchange, and all those structural pieces. Once you have those stubbed out, you'll know exactly how much time you have left for the introduction and the love story. That gives you a real constraint to work within. Without that constraint, you will write something atrociously long. Trust me. And mistake number 7 brings us all the way back to where we started, the logistics. The cues, tell the guests when to sit down kind of stuff. The thing that sort of ruined the Maui ceremony I told you about at the start. Here's the brutal truth. You can write the most beautiful ceremony in the world, deliver it perfectly, and still have everyone leave the wedding talking about the part where you forgot to invite people to be seated, or that you didn't know how to hold the mic, or stood in the wrong spot and blocked the photographer, or skipped a cue and left the bride awkwardly waiting for a moment that never came. These are tiny things. They're not deal breakers, but they are things that guests will see, the things that distract guests from what matters, and they can make you look less competent than you actually are. The fix is twofold. 1, build a logistics checklist for the ceremony day. This should include a mic plan, where to stand, when you cue the processional, when to tell people to sit, when you step out of the way for the kiss, where to hand off the rings, all of it. 2, if a wedding planner isn't doing this already, you need to run a rehearsal. Ideally, the day or two before at the venue with everyone who has a role in the ceremony. Most of these cringe moments aren't a talent problem. They're a project management problem, and one that's so easy to avoid. So those are the 7 mistakes. It'll take you from, I have no idea what I just agreed to I'm actually excited and proud to do this. You've got this. They picked you for a reason, so go do them proud.